Welcome everybody to Townhall number 84 for platformOS. Very exciting, long-awaited return of the CBO team. They've been working very hard in the background, I know, because we've been chatting with them and seeing the amazing stuff that they've been doing behind the scenes. There's going to be a presentation that we're going to hand over to Patrick in just a moment, but just so you know, what we're going to be going through is the evolution of Insights, past and future, how they're doing database-driven websites in 30 minutes using platformOS and Insights. And there'll be a bit of a demo there on a recording. Patrick's going to share their insights around building Insights, which will be awesome. And then using platformOS modules as reusable code, CRM integration, applying caching to dynamic content, one of my favorites. I can't wait to see that. Of course, then callbacks, notifications, and another good one, 301 redirects. So over to you, my friend, Patrick from CBO, and take it away, mate.
Okay, great. I'll just bring up my short presentation. Let me get this started, actually. So thank you for the opportunity to show what we've been working on. I have a couple of agenda points to just set the scene. So first of all, I want to talk about a change for CBO, something that's happened over the last few months, and explain what that means for us as a business. Insights as the product that we've been building has evolved. So I'll talk about what the history has been and where we're going in the future. Adam, we said that we can build a website in 30 minutes. When I went through the process, we can actually build a website in less than 15 minutes. And then I'll talk through an example business process that we would go through with a real customer, and what that output would look like in some sample code. So first of all, I'm just going to let this video explain what's going on for us in less than 30 seconds. So over the past 8 years that we've been running CBO, the business has been focused on digital marketing and websites at the same time. And we've identified that we really now need a space for our clients to come and talk to us about websites as software, and for us to be able to take the digital marketing under the CBO brand on their own path. And Combinate will now be the brand that we talk to customers about their software consulting, building platforms, building marketplaces, and the complex software that we have been building in the past, just so that we can get our message out clearer to those people. So if we're Combinate, a software consulting firm, and Insights is a platform that we choose to build software on. It's a platform now, not a framework anymore. We used to refer to it as a software developers framework, where you could use a software developer as the audience that we were speaking to. And Insights is really going to become a business platform that speaks to business owners because of all the building blocks that come with it. So it now has a large number of modules and built on top of that, the platformOS tech stack. Out of the box, customers can get a large amount of functionality without doing anything really. So the content management system, CRM, ability to build databases, all of the stuff that platformOS gives us under notifications and API integrations, we've really built the amazing UI around that, so that end clients have an interface that they can work with. We then have the developers working in the background, integrating everything, and then falling back down to platformOS's tech stack. So it's this is the future move for us, is to position ourselves much more as the platform that people work with, and not so much as a developer's framework. So the kind of things that we've been building on Insights over the last 12 months are really big software projects. So they're quite complex. Family daycare is a peak body in Australia for family daycare. Is daycare in your home, where a person may care for children at their own residence. Family daycare provide them with guidance, insurance, regulatory oversight. They came to us to build an insurance policy management system. So using the Insights platform and on top of platformOS, we now have everything that you need for insurance, renewals, amendments, quotes, adding user management, secure zones, self-service portals. We've integrated through to SendGrid, Twilio, Stripe. We've got tons of stuff happening in AWS. So it's not a website anymore. It really is a software-driven business processes that have a website front end. Tamper Evidence, one of our first custom e-commerce builds, and they've got some pretty interesting features like dynamic content depending on the options that you pick. So if you change to a red t-shirt, the t-shirt image would change to red, the specifications change to red. We've got the full add to cart functionality. We've built a custom freight engine which calculates shipping in Australia, which is pretty complex because of the size of the country. Tons of lead captures, and all of this integrates to their ERP platform. So every order and payment and lead inquiry gets pushed into their ERP. So they've got one central source of truth. And again, we're using software and a website front end to power their business processes. With Dulux, Dulux are a paint manufacturer in Australia, and they work with a number of builders to, when builders build out a new estate, they have a contract with Dulux to use their product, and Dulux wanted to ensure the quality of the product and the finish of the work was up to their standards every single time. So we now have a full quality assurance program where painters can take pictures of their work, record the inventory that they've used, submit that to their builder. The builder can review it, approve it, send feedback, and ultimately Dulux have this global view of everything that's going on. So taking pictures, uploading images, progressive completion, because obviously a painter might complete one room, take some pictures, then move on to the next. And we use all the workflow notifications, and we've integrated that into an iPhone and Android app. So these are more complex than building out a brochureware website. So we have a very specific need for these customers, and a lot of the things that we build are similar. So user management it's similar. We need people to be able to sign in, create accounts, and be behind secure areas. So that's where we've gone into the evolution of Insights as a platform. All of those similar reusable things have been now added to Insights and evolved into the platform. So that's what we've been building. The future over the next 12 months, we're going to have Combinate, the software consulting firm, partnered with Insights in order to build projects. And this is to refine and continue to enhance Insights code base, which will become just to dog food it ourselves, so that the platform gets more robust, it gets more feature rich, and covers more use cases. We've just released our first set of boilerplate code, which I'll touch on in a moment, and that's really fast tracking a lot of the heavy lifting for development. We are working on an e-commerce module, which I think a lot of our projects need e-commerce in some fashion, whether it's the full shopping cart and transactions and payments and freight, or it's just listing products that people can interact with. So that build is underway, and we've got some really good progress on that in the last few weeks. We then want to build out more enhancements to our build process so that we can be faster, have more automated testing, and have more reusable steps in that process, and then have a great set of documentation and support. So at the moment, Combinate is the only development partner with Insights, but we are looking for sales partners, so people in complementary industries that might refer people to the Insights platform or Combinate as a solutions partner. And in 12 months time, or sometime in the next 12 months, we want to open up to more developers. So, and we do need to refine some of the processes to improve it, but having a developer partner program, which means you work with Insights on top of the platformOS tech stack to roll out using our fast deployment reusable modules, and have a predictable input and output. So that would be really collaborative, really close partnerships with key developers in key states and territories. So that's kind of where we're going. How are we financing that? So our revenue model, about 70% of our projects we want to have covered by Insights. So We don't build password reset processes every time. We don't build a CRM every time, or we don't build secure zone management every time. The 30% that is custom will be extending into API integrations or changing the e-commerce process to really fit a custom need, but having all of the 70% of that process built out. So we have invested heavily in Insights in the last 12 months, and we will continue to invest. So in order to support that investments, clients will pay a license fee to use Insights platform and the building blocks. And we think it's about a 10-to-1 return on their investment. So had they decided to build a platform from scratch, they would have to spend 10 times more than the license fee to get to where they would be. So there's no platform out there that really gives you those building blocks as a starter for software, and then the freedom to use the full platformOS architecture and tech, to achieve everything that you need. And the intention is to share that license fee with sales partners to give them an immediate upfront return on their effort. And then the developer partners, so Combinate, will have a revenue model where they charge a management fee to update the instances, keep the modules up to date, fix deprecations, basically keep the instances running at a very fast, optimal level. So a couple of ways that we're planning to get back some of the investment that we've put in, and also generate enough revenue to make the platform self-sustaining in the future. So that's just, I guess, to set the scene of where we're going. So I want to talk now through probably the part that a lot of the developers will be interested in, is how we're now building a website in 15 minutes. So Insights at the core, one of the most powerful features is the database manager, which lets you create, it's I guess Shane's words is it's like web apps on steroids. So the business catalyst way of dealing with web apps. So you can really do anything with our database manager. You can create any type of schema and put any type of inputs and outputs, render that in a website, and achieve a blog, for example, or list off team members. One of the most powerful uses we've got is a store locator using the geolocation information and process within platformOS. So I'm going to go through how we've built out our boilerplate. I've got a video that I recorded on Wednesday showing the process. I'll play the video and talk through it, but the steps that we go through is that we install the instance, we then install the Insights modules, we clone the boilerplate code. We also, one step I missed from here is that we seed data. So we actually add some seed data to the instance, so we've got something real to work with. We deploy to the POS CLI, and then we carry out some configuration. So I'm just going to switch over to the video now for one moment. So this video starts at 2:05 p.m. Now I'll try to zoom in certain sections in order to make sure the text is legible. I will go through some of this with a demo instance in a moment. So if there's parts that are not clear or you've got questions on, we can touch on those. Starting at 2:05 p.m. So obviously the first process we have to complete is to create the instance. So this really happens pretty much instantly within the platformOS tech stack. And just to show that there's nothing up my sleeves, this is the empty platformOS instance. So as Insights is the partner that has built the modules, when we go to install the modules next, we don't have to go to the marketplace to install them. We can actually install them directly on the instance. And I guess if any developers out there are thinking of creating modules for their own use, this would be the process you would follow. If you want to use the modules that are on the marketplace, it would be slightly different. So the Insights core, this is the powerhouse to everything that we do. It takes probably the longest to install, but it has to be installed first because other modules will have dependencies on that. So this here's sped up pretty quickly. So I've just installed all of the modules, and we now have admin access to the instance. So a user is created by default. In our standards and our project management tool, that user is deleted instantly. So we use that to set the instance up, and we go in and create some other users and delete that so that we never leave a default user lying around. But this is an empty instance. There's still nothing in there except for the Insights module. There's no data. We haven't deployed any front-end code. So I now go and clone. So we're now a few minutes in, probably 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes in. I'm cloning the repo that we've got for the boilerplate into a new Townhall demo project. So it's not a very big build, but it does have a bit going on. So I'm just moving the POS file into the demo so that I can connect to the instance. I'll go through these code blocks in a moment and the different dependencies that are in there. But the seed data now is the next step that we go through. So, first of all, we carry out a deploy. This creates the views, the layouts, the models, the graph queries that we use in the boilerplate. But there's, again, once this is deployed, there still won't be any data. And so 27 seconds to deploy. You can see here some of the sample of the data that Michael created. It follows the data import structure. Oh, I think I used the wrong environment on there. So we've got to upload the data first, and once platformOS has the data, they then import it into the models. So all of this has been pretty standard stuff that most of you would have followed, except maybe the cloning the repo. You might follow the process of POS CLI in it, and this data import. You may not have been creating seed data for your instance. So what this looks like for us now is that within a very short amount of time, we've got an instance created with content, images. There are a few things that don't get uploaded through the process that we carry out some minor updates within the admin. So we don't have, currently we're working on images. There's a couple of gotchas around images that we're a little bit stumped by. So we'll be reaching out to platformOS to talk to the tech heads there to get some guidance and advice on how we can work with images better. But it's one of only 2 manual steps that we need to complete. So this is the Insights Global Content Manager. So we can upload a logo here. We can also add address information. And that address information. So all of this content has been bound to the UI. So the graph query is required, the liquid tags, the liquid formatting. So if we need to parse something, make it HTML safe, that's all being built into the boilerplate. And just to show here, within 17 minutes, I lied about the 15, sorry. But you can see here now that we've got the boilerplate created. We've got some sample content that most customers will want an About Us page. Most of our clients want to show off their team. So we've created these in the boilerplate, but they can be modified for other purposes. So services could be products. The blog could be news updates. The locator I'll go through in the demo, but it's a database-driven store locator. So if you want to have information about retail outlets or distribution partners or platformOS developer partners across the world, that can all be added in. And this is just to show some of the interface for updating content. Again, I'll go through a little bit more in detail. So we can add content, and that's immediately changed in the UI. So we've got, and this also is to demonstrate that we're using Insights components. So if you remember, we've built out a full component library for Insights, which gives you things like sliders, input elements, gives you validation rules, warnings from platformOS are bound into them. So this slider uses database-driven content, and we can update that content using the Insights admin. So that's just one final show here to the team. Again, it's just another database. So this is why I mentioned before that the database manager is so powerful. You can set all of these fields yourself. You can add whatever content you want. You can put in any input types, and then that immediately translates to the front end. And yeah, so what can that be used for? We get back to my slides. So that's all well and good. We can see basically a boilerplate, a set of code. We've all probably worked with or seen templates in the past, and having a template is one thing, but making it actually work for a client is very different. So templates are normally designed to work perfectly for the template, but then when you come to put your content into it, how does it actually work? So we've created a company called Fezler. Fezler sell electric vehicles. So the first step that we go through for a client would be to create a brand and corporate identity. So we carry out this, our design team carry out this in Figma, where we basically carry out under their brand guidelines, we create all of the assets and instruction that a developer will need. So we can see very clearly what the color schemes need to be, the typography. So if you think back to the demo boilerplate that I've just shown, one of the things that we will need to change is the color scheme in the palette. We'll need to change the logo, and we'll need to make sure that all the brand guidelines fit what our customers need. The next stage is for us to go through and create a high fidelity mockup. So we now have interactive mockup that shows our clients the full experience that their website will finally have. And we work with them on a few rounds of iterations to get this right. But this, again, if we're designing with our Insights components in mind. So we don't create designs that are completely, we can create designs that are completely off the wall, but that's a different build process, and it's probably a more expensive project. Whereas if we design with the Insights components in mind, we can be more cost effective, develop faster, get amazing outcomes for customers, and spend their investment on more interesting things. So then from here, we then build out the code. So I'll just take you through the Fezler website so we can have a quick look at what it looks like in the real life. So all of this is database driven. So we have our vehicle slider here, which is customized to obviously include the client's images and the client's branding. Database driven. It's fully interactive. So if we look at something like the About Us page, I call it a static page. If you see the page speeds when we're loading here, these have all been cached. So as soon as I visit them, they cache the first time on the platformOS. So we're basically dealing with static pages now instead of database driven. But the technique that we use allows clients to update their content and invalidate the cache, which I'll talk through in a moment. So this is our reuse of the boilerplate. And I think, Shane, what the build time on this to get from the boilerplate to this now was about 4 days after the designs were started.
Yeah, and I think that's from a developer that has no previous experience with the boilerplate code or design as well. So we expect that once you've used it once or twice, that time will come down as well.
So we have, this is the update section, which was based off the blog. So again, we don't have to call it a blog. We can call it something else, but it does follow the same, uses the same database. And this page is now cached. So the templates, the layouts, being able to, you can modify the layouts if you want. You can move things around. You don't have to follow the same pattern. And Shane, I was just trying to remember the pagination. Page equals 1, and might have to just go and check, because we can actually cache the pagination as well. I'll check that and come back. I think it's not page size. It's somebody know the graph query pagination. No, okay.
I'm not sure off my head.
Let me show you so this charging locations is using our locator module. Again, it's fully database driven, has a full interface, so our users can add any content that they want. So we now have all of the Fezler charging locations. We've got a map view, we've got a list view, we've got an inquiry, which can be using the platformOS notification and liquid rules. We can route the inquiry to the location manager so that the guys in Gothenburg get notified about the inquiry and not just have it going to one central repository. So a lot of workflow integration can go on here. But one of the superpowers that we think that we're getting here is actually each location having their own SEO optimized details page, which would then allow more page rankings, more content. It's all unique. So we've got images, we've got content, we've got social sharing, some of the stuff so Michael from the Insights team has built the boilerplate, and he's built a lot of really cool little features. So if we notice here, the opening hours automatically select the day that we're on, so that we can show information back to the client. The footer shows the page that you're on. So some of these little UX enhancements that would be great on every single project are now built into the boilerplate. And contact form. So I'm just going to submit a contact form on here and show you what that means in the instance. So Elon Musk at Tesla. By your business. So, because I'm not signed in. One thing that I will also point out, I use Guest a lot in order to carry out testing so that it removes any Chrome extensions. So I'll submit this, and I just want to run the Lighthouse Audits just quickly on screen here, because database-driven sites tend to perform worse with Lighthouse Audits, because we've got to carry out queries to get information back, and that means the time to first byte can be slower, which means that's probably one of the main reasons why our score would go down. This page, we're getting a 66. I guess if we run it again, maybe it didn't cache. We're getting up to the 80s. Now, we still, as I mentioned before, we've still got some work to do on images and how the database manager works with images and the CDN. But we're getting some really good scores back, and we're really happy with that. So I think we'll see here that we've got static assets, which are the images, because I think we're maybe uploading them directly to the S3 bucket or something, but I'm pretty happy with that performance. And the user experience is that it's pretty instant. The pages are, boom, they're loaded. So if I go into the instance now, so, or sorry, not the instance, the Insights admin. So we've got a branded, because the client's logo is added. Got to change my email address for logging into things soon. So we've just submitted that inquiry through the website, and we can see here that's come through on the timeline. And we can, just need to move you guys out of the way. We can see the details of the inquiry. This is because the event stream here can have anything from anywhere. So it may not just be a form submission, it could be anything. So we've got the details from here, but we can see the user has also been created. So this is now in our content, our customer relationship management tool. We've got the client created, and a form has been submitted here. And I think we've got, we might have some time zoning issues. It's coming through here. We just need to update our filter to use the localization that again is built into the instance. But everything comes through as a case, and we're able to assign these to any of the employees. We can update the status, and we're able to work with the form submissions. So that's a very basic example. And then we've got the email notifications all being triggered. So some of the things under the hood that are really cool. So the first one, dynamic caching. This has been something that Michael put some effort into getting right. What we need to be able to do is set certain models that we want to monitor for changes, so that if a model changes, that we refresh that cache. So you don't want to check every model, because you might have some models around things like a user signing in, or maybe your e-commerce transaction module. So we carry out a capture to get a list of modules that we want to query. We have a graph query then, or we do some liquid magic here. We then have a graph query that gets back the last updated date of any record in any of those models, and we prepend the URL. And it's the prepending of the full URL that gives us a unique date and time stamp plus the URL as a key that is unique to that page, unique to that, if you're using pagination, it's unique to that pagination filter. It then will invalidate anytime you add a new record. So if I go and change the global configuration, it invalidates the key across that. But until then, all of those pages will remain cached and static. So that's really one of the major learnings that we've got, that we want this to be reusable across every project. So the query that we've crafted, the liquid tag, this is added into the boilerplate with clear instructions to the developers, and every single page that we build now has proper dynamic caching in the way that platformOS would hopefully want us to use the system. So we get the right output, really fast pages. And this is the structure of the code. So the app folder, it becomes pretty lightweight. We still include our static content in the app folder. So we have some pages in here. Oh, the sitemap. We have a dynamically generated sitemap off of the, which I forgot to mention, sitemap. So this is basically carrying out a query to all the databases that generate pages, and we now have a dynamically generated XML sitemap. We've only gone down one level, but you can see here, this for the team page, I've gone down 2 levels. So you can see that you can go down as many slugs as you've created, and the queries, again, they're crafted in a way that when we add another database model, the guys can very easily update the queries in order to include that in, or exclude it from your sitemap. And so that's a pretty cool feature. But the thing that platformOS has really given us in well, on top of all of the instance, the speed, the engineering stuff, is the modules folder. So we can build anything that we want, and we can either have it as a module on the marketplace, or we can create reusable code that we add to each project. So we've created a module for our forms. Now, this isn't a form builder in the marketplace, but it's where we keep all the code for forms, so that the views, the graph queries, and any API calls or integrations are all in one place. So it's unlikely that a project would start without wanting some contact form. So we always build in a contact form on the contact page. But extending these and adding more forms is really easy. So at the moment, we've only got, I think, 2 pages, 2 partials. So we've got the CRM form, and we then, I think we've got a sign up form for email newsletters. Using these modules means that we can switch on and off features within a project. So this project is using the store locator. If we don't need it, we can remove that. And we very much intend to use these for sharing code between projects, and working heavily to get these boilerplate code bases optimized, efficient, using the right liquid tags, the right graph queries, and the right platformOS methodologies, so that each developer on each project is not making those decisions. So our sample data here, we've left it in the project just to show, but we would remove this from a project for our clients. But having this sample data for our developers means that they've actually got records to work with when they're trying to build out the UI, and they're not working from empty data. So adding seed data is super useful. And I think that's about it. So I guess there might be some parts of this that you might have some questions on, or areas that you want me to touch on. Yeah, so
I've just asked the guys what they want to have a look at. Probably it has been a little while since everyone may have seen the Insights admin UI.
Yep.
So maybe we could do a run through that, and then maybe a little bit of a focus on the database manager. We're currently at version 2 with version 3 in the works at the moment, but it's pretty damn powerful, and it really uses the power of platformOS models while giving both a developer building power, but also the end users to manage that content, a really nice interface as well.
Let's start with
activity, the event stream.
Yeah, let me go through some of the lower level settings first. So we've got our admin users control, so we can add admin users in here. They're separate to the CRM users. These guys are the ones that log into the back end. We've got some localization settings, which allow us to support different date and time formats, and also different time zones. So everything that's stored in platformOS is at UTC, and we just wanted a way that we could have the UI show the time zone that the person's in. And then we've got some system fields that are used by the CRM, fully customizable. So when you've got company types, you might want to have, a longer list, a shorter list. You might want to do list off industries, and you can modify those. So we then have our site manager global content. So this is more for the UI, that the output of the website. Just loading a bit of data there. Just give it a quick refresh. So this information we bind to the UI. I should have just waited, sorry. So this, again, we don't want developers coding things like email addresses directly onto into the website code, because they can change, and we know companies' logos change, and these details are easy to update with this interface. Social links can all be stored in here. We can have locations, and we support opening hours and 5 different locations. So you can have your head office and your regional offices.
A little icon there for the liquid snippet as well on the right-hand side of the fields.
Yes. So if you want to copy that into your code, so I've just copied that to the clipboard. I can't paste it there. And you can just drop that into your project and dynamically insert that information. Then PO box is just as another type of address. So I didn't go through our 301, so possibly 301s are a good time now that we're sitting here. So platformOS supports 301s by creating a page that you specify a redirect rule on. It doesn't have a UI for it, so we created one. If I go back to the demo, so this page has been moved by the client. They don't want it anymore, but we want to redirect it back to the home page. So we just check that that's working. So that redirect has happened, and it's a 301. So we can add them directly where you specify your old path and a new path. And then you can say whether it's 301 or 302. So adding those is really easy one by one, but we also need to be able to import and export. So I can export that, that list, add to it, and then import it again. So it gives you the ability to bulk manage 301s. And we've currently got multiple projects using this because we've migrated a number of big sites from WordPress over to platformOS. So I won't wait for that, because I think it's using a background job in order to get that to export. So we then have under the site manager, we can manage any of the pages in the website. So if we go to our team page, we'll be able to see. I haven't got version control on here. If we add our Git credentials, we're able to store the changes in a Git repository. I haven't set that up yet, so it won't actually let me do that, I think, Shane.
If you've got version control enabled, then no, you won't let you edit the page. You might need to go
because
and just
version control is enabled for the whole instance, but I need to add my credentials so that the changes that I make are logged against me.
So we did that on purpose so that we don't want admin users going and updating an instance without having a change log and a history. So you've also got a rollback point. When you make a change to a page, you can also leave a comment into the Git repository as well about what you've done too. So it's about ensuring that an admin user has the right to change things, but that doesn't leave a developer out of sync with the changes on a repo, which very often happens. And that was one of the big bugbears with BC, that there's only one instance being production, and you constantly, if you've got multiple people working on a project, which we normally do, you're constantly overriding one another's code, which is highly frustrating. And in a post-BC world, we now have multiple environments. So we have dev environments, a staging environment, a UAT environment, and a production environment. So making sure that everything is in sync and got the latest code is of paramount importance.
So one of the areas that the version control is being reviewed on is the database manager. So you can update records in a database without version control. That's fine. We're happy with that. If we're using the blogs to manage our news settings, if we're using the blog module, I think we called it updates or something. You can see here that the kind of content we've selected to show in the list view. So you can see the date it was published, the status, the post title, and we're able to configure the settings of the database here. So generate the YAML. Again, version control has been added to this.
Control. Maybe just go turn it off. Under Site Manager, version control, and then configure repository. Turn it off.
So might need to refresh. Yeah, so the database manager lets you add any fields that you want. It generates the YAML for you, and you can add that to your code base. So we've got a lot of meta fields that we add, and we use those in order to generate the UI within Insights. But the field manager is really straightforward. So we've got you can add field groups, and then you can add the fields underneath them. And you are able to specify the field type, so the data that you're actually storing, and then you can set some different UI elements. So if I look at the status here, we've got a string. It's a select. So we're storing the data as a string. You've got a select option, and it can be draft or published. So you can really create any type of data, any type of data capture that you want. And then if we look at the blogs, how that works in the interface, when we add a new item, it builds out this interface for you. So if I go back to my status here, we've got the select option. And if I go and change that and I made it a radio, then it would appear as a radio. So we're trying to stand.
Go back into that configuration. I'll just talk through the a couple of the options there, because people may not have seen it. So if you go to configuration.
Do you want to add a new field?
There's a couple of icons there. So if you pick a field, so you've got the option to name that field, what field type it is, and then you've got your metadata tab there, and
dynamically generates the column name. We can specify any of these data types to store it, which bind to the platformOS data types. So if we were to say, I think string is probably the most flexible, is it? It's already a string up here. And then we've got these UI elements. So
pick HTML, for example. So that's a WYSIWYG editor. Say it's mandatory. Then you go to metadata. You can add your information about that here. We also have some mock data, and you can use this on the front end as well. If you're trying to, let's say you want to have some validation, you can put some regex in there and then call that on the front end to validate the input. Any default value and example data. And then the appearance tab is for what people see. So you can make this searchable. I think because this is we chose a HTML element, it limits the options, but we can maybe go back to properties for a second, and we'll change that just to be a normal input. Where have you got options input? So you can also then specify, so that show in table was in that list view that you saw. Do you want it to be searchable, and do you want it to be sortable? So you can actually customize what the admin user's experience is like, and then some helpful text for them when they're inputting data and managing that content to give them some tips. So on the left-hand side, if you have a look there, there's an eye icon, and that means that is shown in the table. You've got drag and drop, so you can add an individual field to an individual field group, and that field group is what group them in that layout when you're managing your content. So once you've got that configured, you would then go into the items and then add a new item, and that will show up. So there's your...
So that's the field that we've just created. And we're able to go straight to the HTML, or you can use the WYSIWYG, and we support Markdown, multi-line text. So this is really, so if somebody were an admin logged in, they want to create a new blog post, they might want to use HTML, they might be more comfortable with Markdown. It might be that because we've got these content blocks, we might specify in the project, that they only can add text here, and that text will be dropped in into the design somewhere. So we can limit that to just be pure text. So giving them HTML would mean they can add links, but maybe in that particular project, they wouldn't want them. So we're trying to standardize a lot of the data bits.
The layouts in the database.
These won't be configured.
They won't be configured, but so you've got a list layout and a details layout. So on the right-hand side, you've got your toolbox. So that will dynamically pull in all of your fields from your database. And you can actually use that to construct your slugs as well. You specify what template that you would like to use. So in the page details settings of those slugs, you can use those fields to make it dynamic URL. And then you've got your SEO metadata tab, open graph, and then any security policies that you want to add in there as well. And those layouts can be enabled and disabled. So that's a feature when you've got a lot of database driven content. This is how you can structure what the view would look like on the front end.
So everything that we've got in this project's driven by the databases. So even the menu items, so that we can configure and edit these without a developer getting involved. So once the project launches, the developers take a back seat, we put it into our support process, and it means that if somebody sends a support ticket in saying, I need to change a phone number or change a blog URL, or the SEO team want to optimize something, we don't have to get developers back involved. They've got an interface that they can work with.
And then just go back to the items and we'll show the import export quickly. So if you go to log items, so you've got import data, export data, empty data. So version 3 has, you can export filtered data as well. And we're changing the way that we export data. So you download your dynamic template, which has got all of the individual fields that you require. Then you can import that back in again. So we also do this across different environments and different instances. So you can manage them from one instance to another.
And then permissions manager is where we can create groups. So we could say log in users and create a group which allows people to have access to some of the content. This is for UI access. So we would have a slug on the website, say, for example, that you needed to log in order to access that content. So we would add some users to that group, just so happens. And we've got expiry dates for that. So we could use this for, we've given them unlimited access, but we could set this to be linked to, say, a transaction from Stripe, where they get 30 days access or 100 days access. Or so for membership sites, where people are selling access to content, downloads, whatever. So we create those the secure zones, create the groups, and then we create the secure zones where we specify paid content. If they don't have access, we redirect them to the home page, and then we can add the groups to that. And
what this does is this automatically writes the code for you for platformOS authorization policies. So an admin can come here and create that, and then that code is automatically generated.
It's generated the code. It's just something a bit funky on here. I think it's pushed off the side a little bit. But yeah, so then we can apply those zones to individual pages. So if I go back to the site manager, and we say that our team page, for example, we can add that secure zone to that page. So really trying to give some flexibility to the admins to edit and change things once we've got the core site built. We don't have to predefine all of the page rules. We don't have to predefine all of the pages and content. They're able to do that progressively over time. And even building out the platformOS instance with the boilerplate and insights, we can give that across to a customer and ask them to fill out details while we're developing. So we can actually get data from them around their pages or their secure zones or their user management, and we can start populating that into the development instances. And then we've got some built-in integration. So we've got Google Maps, Recaptcha, Event Stream, and the CRM activities. So the event stream and CRM activities are the feeds that we can see on here. So at the moment we're creating events for users, but we could have any system event. So an email was sent via SendGrid, a Twilio message was sent, a third-party API event occurred, but we tie it back to a user by their email address. So that could be an invoice has been issued in Xero, or you know, a CRM, a phone call was taken on a VoIP system, and we want to store the voice recording into the customer record. So really gives us that single customer view within Insights, and we can aggregate data from any platform. So
let me just show the CRM, and then we'll take questions from there.
I was kind of clicking through the CRM when you were talking before, so it's we did touch on it slightly. So we've got user management, we can add contacts, creating a new contact, we've got the expected fields. I think I've touched on those. We can add any external data, and we can store anything in here, and we can have many of these. So that's really useful if you want to use it for integrating, say for example, you might store the Xero ID in here, and then you might have, you know, some other third-party tools that you want to integrate with. You can store their IDs, but you could even store JSON objects in here. So if you wanted to store a JSON object generated by the system that was custom to that user, you're able to do that. And we've got companies. You can create, if I create a company in here, you can associate the company to individuals. I wonder how much I have to set. And that means you can have that parent-child relationship and group many people into to all be under the same company, which again is very useful when we're dealing with B2B businesses. So we now have under Tesla, we can have all of the contacts listed on there, and each database model that's created can be a case. So when somebody submits a form online, we don't have a user ID created for them. So we've got a background job process that will attach, we submit the form, add it to a model, and then we go back and add the user ID. So we create the user in the CRM, generate an ID, add that back to the model. So it's a background job that runs, means that we can really have, you can see here, we've got messages, we've got database items being created. So I can see Jeff created this database item. We can see what he's entered into that database. So we can see all the information that he's stored. So the cases become really informative about an individual user. And then each user also has the ability to have activities. So this would be used for your call center, if you're placing calls, sending emails. And we've integrated through Zapier with a proof of concept process where you can push any data from Zapier into this activity feed based on email address, phone number, or ID. So that would let you have Zendesk send through a ticket to here, or have Teamwork, which is our project management tool, send through a comment from a task. So we can aggregate all of that information into one place. And you know, this is used again by several large companies as their call center. So when the multi-agents are dealing with the client, they've got a full history of everyone's comments, what's been said, what emails have been sent. And
the advanced filter on the cases. So basically, anytime a form is submitted in platformOS, it creates a case. And so you can actually query any model and see the update history on anything.
Are you using the activity feed code for that, Shane?
No, not the platformOS activity feed. It's using a model.
But I can filter that just to show the contact forms. But equally, I can say, well, I know that the developers were working in the instance. And I want to see if anyone was updating records to the services page, because one of the services pages has been updated incorrectly. And I can see here what was carried out, when it was carried out. So we get that audit trail for any logged in user, for any model that they interact with through the Insights. Well, actually not through Insights, any logged in user through any interface, as long as the user ID is associated to the model, we can see what they've done. So yeah, all of this combined, you know, it basically gives us the interface for our clients to work with their content. And now that we've got the boilerplate, and I have to call out the work that the Insights team have done on this, and Mark has worked heavily on the database manager. Nico's done amazing work on the Insights core, and Michael's been working across the whole platform. And most recently, he's been the developer that's built out the boilerplate. And to see some of the finesse that the developers have added, like around the navigation items, it gives polish to the project and allows our customers to get really good experiences. And then they can forget about those details and focus on their business outcomes that they want. So for Fezler, it might be making sure their charging locations are SEO optimized. For another client, it might be their e-commerce. For another customer, it might be form submissions turning into workflows. And that's what we want to focus on. All of these things like phone numbers, email addresses, they're kind of consistent. Now, if we need to design them and make something unique, we can. Recently, we've built out a website that has a very different look and feel to this, but that we have to acknowledge that there's more design time and more development time in those projects. So the budgets need to cater for that. But where we've got, say, a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 budget, and they want something really, really fast, slick, and they want to get off the ground in weeks, not months, our build process is now going to support that. So I guess, is there any questions coming through, Adam? I'm not sure.
I just made a note of just how much funding Airtable and Contentful both took in comparison to the $750K investment that you guys have spent in building what is pretty much Airtable and Contentful, only a little bit better, all in one. So awesome work. The other thing I just wanted to point it out, you're on a staging server in Oregon doing a demo from Sydney, and you're still getting these speeds. That's what's blowing me away. If you're running off the Sydney instance, just down the road from you, it'd be even faster.
And we are seeing that. We are seeing that the staging is really fast. I mean, it's an amazing amazing response times. As long as we do things right, you know, as long as we're following best practice and the standards, and that's where I think the boilerplate has really helped. We know the graph queries are crafted properly, and we know that you know, we're not carrying out N+1 queries, and we're not returning huge payloads. We're being selective in what we push back to the UI. But yeah, so and the sites that we've launched do get a bump. They do get a speed boost from coming into the Sydney region.
Brilliant. No, it's really impressive, guys. You've obviously done a lot of work here. The performance is just what, you know, every time you're clicking, and the database management, the metadata, the little liquid tag hints, it's definitely, I can see how a developer would go, wow, this is going to just enhance my workflow in a big way. I want to open up to questions to everybody else. And those watching the video, of course, how can they get in touch, Shane and Patrick, to connect with you guys?
Well, look, we're on Slack. We're active on the platformOS Slack group. So happy to chat there, or they can send us an email. Our website is insights.io. We also have a doc site, which is docs.insights.io. And you can send support tickets to support@insights.io as well. Yeah, it's probably Slack is easiest if you want to have a real-time conversation. Patrick and I are based in Melbourne, so time zones just to be aware of. And I think it's probably important.
But you get up in the morning, San Francisco time though, Shane. So you're on the same time zone as me.
It's 8 o'clock. I'm not even normally awake at this time. So. Special occasion. I even put a shirt on for you. I think it's important to note that, you know, we use Insights for both websites and large scale software builds as well. So we're not, I guess that we're not trying to build a drag and drop website builder. I think the boilerplate gives you a really fast way to build a website and have dynamic content, have an admin and experience, and you can really start off at a quite basic level, but you can go all the way up to a $500,000, $1 million software project with Insights. And I think that's probably comes through in the way that we've built the system. It is meant for developers to have raw access to things. You also manage your instance directly with platformOS through the partner portal, and then you install the modules. So you have the ability to update your module, or you can keep that module at that particular version. So we release module updates weekly, but you don't have to. So from a business point of view, what we're doing is we charge our clients to be able to keep those instances up to date when a new module version is released, so that there's a bit more revenue as well. And you've got a bit of a conversation with your client about what's happening with their website and their instance. I think I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that we need to cover. We're releasing a new doc site in the next couple of months, which will be powered by platformOS and using the Insights database. So we really want to showcase what we're doing with our docs internally to the world using our own system.
Any other questions? Or has everybody just lost for words? You did a great job, Patrick. I mean, your pace was awesome. I love it. It was punchy. You were showing everything that we needed to see, and maybe we covered everything.
If anyone wants to get in touch and actually set up a demo instance with the admin and have a look at what the code would look like, please reach out and we can set one up for you and show you how it all works. And also, Patrick alluded to the sales partners. So we've got a very healthy revenue share model. So if you've got that page, Patrick, that URL of the partnership, but so that I guess you can work with Insights yourself and build on top of it, but we also allow referrals to, if a project is say too big for someone, they can also refer them over to us and we will give them a link. We will build the project for them and provide a referral commission back to that sales partner as well. So I think Patrick's just thrown in that URL in there.
Yeah, so it's on the Insights domain, insights.io, partner with Insights. And whether it's a developer partner or a complementary industry or somebody who's dedicated to selling and they just want to sell licenses, they might want to do that as a role. Commercially, we want to talk to partners, because I think Adam has taught us that partners are valuable, and having a good community and a good network of partners is going to help us get Insights where we want it in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's very, very sort of healthy partnership, thousands of dollars worth of money for referrals for the license fee. And if there's multiple referrals, then that commission also goes up further. So if you're not necessarily in a position to build directly, but you have, say, a client interested, you can still put some money in your back pocket while the project is managed through that referral program. Everybody needs to win, is our motto.
Excellent. Well, fantastic job. I want to just say congratulations to the CBO Insights Combinate team behind the scenes, behind the curtain, doing all that code work. Obviously, there's some good leadership going on there at the front to set direction and vision, but the execution's been fantastic, and to see the improvements and just how deep they've gone and leveraging best practices, fantastic. So well done to all the team there. You know who you are. Yep. Claps
Thanks,
and applause.
Yeah, massive thanks to the team. It's been, I think it's coming up to 2 years now, is it?
It is 2 years. Yeah, I think it's 2 years. And probably really 6 months since some of the major updates to the core platformOS code was made. So, deprecating some of those old ways that we did things, which would have been a frustration for the developers, shifting from one foot to the other. and having done that in their stride and carried the ball over the line, kicking a goal. So 6 months ago, we pretty much had the line in the sand, and hopefully you won't see any more.
Yeah, but I mean, it was interesting looking at how old some of our code was in the core, and we spent a fair amount of time updating it and using those latest feature sets, which has been fantastic, which speeds up everything. But at the same time, as you know, the way that we have versioned our modules is that you can keep things the way they are, or you can update them and get that latest leverage. So huge thanks to the platformOS team as well. I mean, we're using you guys as the base platform and infrastructure, and it's been amazing to see the improvements that you guys are making, which we can then provide to our clients on top of. So huge thanks back to you guys too.
Yeah, no, it's all about the partnerships, as you said before, and we're glad to be part of it. I'd love to see deploy on the new Google Cloud staging environment too. Just push that out there. So start leveraging Google Cloud. We will set up a region in Sydney, in fact, anywhere in the world, if anybody's listening. And so if you've got clients, Shane, who say, hey, I want a Bahrain, I need to have insights on a Bahrain server or wherever, just let us know. We'll get things happening.
Awesome. Cool. And we'll try and do a few more town halls as well. I know we've probably been away for a little bit. We've been head down and really focusing on building stuff. Building some very large projects in the background as well. We've got some really large new ones, SaaS products that will be built using Insights and platformOS coming up too. So there'll be some further details on that. So we really are targeting, full-blown SaaS products that can build on top of this technology, as well as your $5,000 website. So it's really interesting to see how we can go from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Congrats, guys. Really good. I'm excited for you. And thanks again for the collaboration. Wonderful presentation. Again, Patrick, excellent stuff. Shane, backing up behind the scenes and the team behind you, making it all happen. For those watching the video, the link will probably be in a blog post that we're going to share when we update and share the town hall. And of course, thanks to everybody who have been here live watching it right now. So Bob, Clark, Colin, Daniel, David, Martin, Matt, Shane, you all are awesome rock stars, and I look forward to the next town hall. And Shane, we'll work out when that's going to be with you guys, showing another update on that SaaS project that you've got going. We'll also loop back on image optimization stuff as well. So we'll link in there on Slack and just make that go away as a problem. So thanks again, everybody. We'll look at.
Thanks, guys. See you around.